The next module we have here is for accessing and setting up the chart of accounts. Now, like any other software, there are a couple ways to get into the chart of accounts, here on the top right or here on the far left. And here are the two sections. And notice how the number is blank because in our company settings module, we chose to make our numbers available, and I will show you why shortly. So the first account that I have set up here is the checking account, and it has this arrow here with the bank showing that the bank is connected. Now on the far right, if we click this down arrow, we have some options here. So let's edit this chart of account. When creating charts of accounts, it is important for us to choose the correct account type and detail type because that will put it in the correct area that we want in either the profit and loss or the balance sheet. And I put in a chart of account number as 1100 for my first checking account here. Now on the bottom right here, we can see that my bank account has already been connected, and I can disconnect that if I have some problems in the future. Now the next account that I want to add in is our cash on hand account. So on the top right hand corner, I'm going to choose new account and bank, and then cash on hand. And I'm going to choose the number 1000 because I want it on the top before my checking account. And I'm going to create another new account for my savings account here. And I like to make sure that I put my bank name there because sometimes we have an Amex or a RBC Visa or some other account. And save and close. And my next asset is going to be accounts receivable. Now let's take a look at what the standard chart of account numbers are supposed to be before we get rolling into creating our charts of accounts here. So I've just taken a look at one of the websites that first come up. We have our assets and our liabilities and our equity, revenues, cost of goods sold, and operating expenses as our different categories. So here's a sample. Our assets are in our 1000 range. These are things of value that we have, such as equipment. And then the 2000 starts with the liabilities that we owe. So let's start off with our assets back in our chart of accounts. So let's change our number on the accounts receivable to be 12,000 here, or 1200 rather. And now it's getting kind of tedious adding in all these account numbers one by one. So on the top right hand corner we have a pencil here. We'll click it and we can edit all these account numbers here all at once. So let's put accounts receivable as 1200, and then I'm going to add in some more chart of account numbers here in the way that I want it to come up listed on my balance sheet. And it's important to click save just to make sure that your data has been entered before you enter too much. So next I'm going to add in some machinery and equipment as one of our assets here. And I'm going to choose our chart of account number here and save and close. Now, because we have assets of value, we are going to be depreciating or amortizing that asset. So let's add in that chart of account too. So accumulated amortization and the name of the asset that we are depreciating. And we'll put it right underneath the asset for the machinery and equipment and save and close. Now the next one that we could add maybe is a vehicle. So we'll choose again property, plant, and equipment, and we have some other options here. So we could create a vehicle if we wanted here. So X out of here. Next we have our things that we owe. So I like to put the another account as 2,000. So let's just change our Visa here, and I'm going to add in accounts payable here as the 2,000 line, things that you owe in your bills. So let's take a look at the next chart. Let's edit some numbers here. I have the taxes here for GST payable and GST suspense. GST suspense is from the filing and for the payments. And we also have the provincial sales tax here. Let's save our work as we're going along so we don't lose anything. Okay, so let's add in another chart of account here for a loan account, because a lot of us entrepreneurs have a little bit of a loan when we're starting out here. And I'm going to put the bank name and save and close. And what else do we need here? How about workers' compensation payable that we owe in the future? So we can add in another tax payable account. So let's put workers' compensation payable, something that is due to the Workers' Compensation Board. And the next account that, oh right, we have to add in some charts of account numbers because we haven't been adding in those ones. So let's do that now. And make sure to save your work. And let's add in another chart of account for a shareholder loan. And so let's choose our description and let's put it as shareholder loan. And save and close. Let's take a look at how we're looking here. Next is going to be our equity and income sections. So let's add in some charts of account numbers for what is already here. Let's start out with retained earnings on the top of the equity section. And we also have an opening balance equity account, which is used for the software. So let's save our work and let's add in another account for shareholder activity. The shareholder activity is the ins and outs of the monies coming out of the company, taken out by the shareholder, and the personally paid expenses that were made for the company. Our next account we can add is our stocks, or our initial shares when we created our corporation. And let's add in a chart of account number for that. Now let's take a look at our progress. And now we need to add in another account for dividends paid. So another equity account. Let's choose our description, account type, and let's name it as dividends paid, and let's add in a chart of account number. So let's take a look at what we're working with here, what we've created. Now QuickBooks adds in this opening balance equity account, and in here is populated transactions that are put into this account because it is the starting balance of when your bank was connected. This really has nothing to do with reconciliation, so I want to delete this. It's not going to match anything, but if you take a look at this error message, we really want to make sure that we know what we're doing before we delete this, because it was a transaction that was formally reconciled. In actuality, we really haven't done any reconciliation yet, so I am going to be getting rid of these transactions before we do anything else. Now I want to show you what this transaction will look like in our checking account ledger. You see how there's an R here, that means it's reconciled, but as you can see, this is the only transaction that has been entered into the checking account ledger. So I'm just going to get rid of it so I am ready to go for my first transaction for my checking account. So let's take a look at how we are progressing here. And next is our income accounts here. And the first one that I'm going to choose is the sales of product income. In our first video, we had set up that I was selling a couple of things here, raspberries and pierogies. So let's add in our first chart of account as 4,000 for sales, because 4,000 is where our income chart of accounts starts. And I want to put my actual products that I sell right underneath the sales of product income with our chart of account numbers. And I also offered another service, so I'll put that under my products. And I gave discounts, and I also did some billable expense income here. I billed out some of my expenses. Let's add some more charts of account numbers here. QuickBooks creates this uncategorized income as part of the software. And let's save and close. Oh, looks like we have duplicated our chart of account numbers. So let's change this to another chart of account number. And let's save and check our work. And let's scroll down to see how we're doing. For our next section is our cost of goods sold and expenses. And let's take a look at back here. I want to make sure that my products are sub-accounts of my main sales of product income, so it'll look nice on my profit and loss. So I'm going to, instead of scroll here to figure it out where I want to put it, I think what I'm going to do is just choose sales of product income here. And here's my other account, and I'm going to put pierogies under, again, the sales of product income. Looks like my cookies haven't caught up with what I added, so I couldn't add in those numbers. The next accounts I'm going to develop here are the cost of goods sold accounts. So let's create our first one here as our labor costs to create the products that we are going to sell. So I'm going to put that as cost of goods sold labor, and I'm going to choose the cost of goods sold account to put that underneath. And let's create another cost of goods sold account. And let's put this as supplies and materials. So let's choose the bottom one here. And I'm just going to change the name to the way that I like it so it matches here. And I'm going to put it as a sub account of the cost of goods sold. Before I forget here, and save and close. And let's scroll down and see our progress. Well, we now need to take a look at our numbering, how we're doing here. So we've gone through a bunch of these, the 2,000 being the things we owe and the owner's equity and our income. Now we're on to 5,000, which is the cost of goods sold. So let's create some more chart of account numbers here. So 5,000 and some more to put underneath 5,000. And let's save our work here. So the remaining ones that we have to add in are our expenses. So, looks like I've created a duplicate one from here. So we can merge our accounts. Let's try and do that here. Let's choose the same detail type and account type as the one that we want to merge with, and we just use the exact same name that we want to change the account and merge it to. Now, this error means that we are going to put it into another place into the profit and loss. So it just asks you if that's where you want to put it. Let's take a look now at trying to see why it didn't merge. Maybe it was the fact that it was not a sub-account. Oh, here we are. So, oh, look, there is an issue because the purchases account is set by QuickBooks Online as an account we can't delete or edit. So it's stuck there. Another thing about using QuickBooks Online is if we don't see the desired effect that we want, just pressing refresh may update the cookies. So let's say that I still am having trouble merging these accounts. Let's take a look at what's happening here. We have to make sure that our name is exactly the same as the other one. It's still not merging, so let's take a look again. And this time we have to make sure that it is part of the sub account. Oh, look, it's going to merge. Oh no, it's not, because purchases is part of a set account in QuickBooks Online. Now, merging is normally going to be a little bit easier, but as this account is part of the set one, I'm going to make it under cost of goods sold. And then I am going to get rid of this account that I added in, so you can just delete it here. And it actually makes it inactive. And I'm going to change this purchases account to be the name that I want it as, supplies and materials, under my cost of goods sold account. I can see what number that I want by clicking on the down arrow, and I'll save. So let's create another account here. This time we are going to create an expense. And usually at the top are our bank charges with 6,000. And I have merchant fees here added already because we connected our bank, I think. So it auto-populated that. And I'm going to put that under bank charges here. And save and close. Now let's add in some more expense accounts here. I'm going to add in a header account for administrative expenses here. And I'm going to choose my chart of account number. And under those administrative expenses, I could have office supplies. So I'm going to choose supplies and put it under our new header account. And let's type in the name as office supplies. What chart of account number should I use? Let's take a look with the drop down and save and close. Let's add in another expense under our office in general. This time let's add in utilities. And let's put it under our header for office in general. And let's choose our chart of account number and save and close. So I kind of skipped ahead here and added in office supplies. So I'm going to backpedal here and add in my advertising and promotional. Before that, see, we add space with our chart of account numbers between things. As you notice, I don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that we can expand on our chart of accounts. I'm going to add some promotional meals here under my advertising. Now, promotional meals are a 100% tax write-off versus the meals and entertainment category in our expenses here under advertising. For more information, please ask your accountant about the difference between meals and entertainment and promotional meals. So let's change our chart of account numbers. And what else do we need here for expenses? Well, we could keep going and going, but I think that'll be good for us here for demonstration purposes. And so comes the end to our QuickBooks Online Safe Setup. If you'd like some more information or help with setting up your QuickBooks, please comment or email me at nikkisbookkeeping@gmail.com. Thank you and have a great day.